0635, November 13th, 2025. 12 nautical miles off Berdyansk, the Steregushchiy-class frigate readied its storm. A full salvo of Kalibr cruise missiles, each 4,850 pounds of steel and fuel, with reach enough to strike across a nation. But before launch, the sea itself turned against it. 5 Leleka UAVs appeared over the horizon. One broke through tracer fire and struck the radar mast head-on, blinding the ship's sensors in a flash of flame. Seconds later, 3 MAGURA sea drones carved through the waves, each packed with 220 pounds of explosives. The alarm screamed, the deck burned red, and the question rose with the smoke: can any warship survive when it can no longer see the enemy? 6:35, November 13th, 2025. The Sea of Azov was unusually calm. Rising from the morning mist, approximately 12 nautical miles off the port of Berdyansk, was a Steregushchiy-class escort ship, nicknamed Russia's stealth killer. It was modern, sleek, and dangerous, a threat aimed at the cities of Ukraine. More than 345 feet long and displacing about 2,425 short tons, the hull was fitted with a full suite of sensors and weapons. A FERC-2 3D radar with an operational range of about 62 miles. A medium-range Redoute missile system integrated into the combat management system. 2 30mm AK-630 rotary guns capable of firing approximately 5,000 rounds per minute, with an effective range of about 1.2 miles to defeat close, small targets. An A-190 naval gun for surface engagements, and hull-mounted sonar and undersea torpedo detection sensors. All these systems were designed to defeat missiles, aircraft, and small boats before they reached the ship. But the heart of the ship, the thing that truly made it dangerous, was 8 launch tubes for Kalibr cruise missiles, Russia's favored long-range strike weapon. Each missile weighed roughly 4,850 pounds, carried a warhead of about 882 pounds, and could strike targets more than 932 miles away. That power was enough to cross borders, erase an airport, flatten a power plant, or level a neighborhood, all from offshore. The captain understood his mission. In only a few minutes, the firing order would be issued. The missiles would roar from their launchers, streak into the dawn sky, and plunge down on Ukrainian civilians who had never heard the name of this ship. But history is often ironic. This $250 million escort ship, coated with radar-absorbing paint and fitted with advanced electronics, was about to face opponents cheaper than a family car. As one Ukrainian officer said, "If Russia wants to spend millions of dollars to build a warship, we'll spend a few thousand to turn it into scrap." By 4:30, Kiev could already see the ship's silhouette across every feed, satellite relays, civilian AIS signals, and leaked chatter online. The Steregushchiy had been locked in by Ukraine's watchers. Time was a luxury they did not have. At 4:32, 5 Leleka 100 UAVs reached their launch rails. Small fixed-wing reconnaissance drones by design, not built to showcase power. Their specifications were modest. Endurance approximately 2.5 hours, an operational radius of approximately 62 miles, and an airframe mass around 14.3 pounds. Weaponized variants carry only small warheads. For this mission, each drone bore a approximately 13.2-pound explosive payload, enough to disable exposed electronics or destroy sensors, not to punch through heavy armor. At 4:38, the drones spotted the ship and ran low along the gray horizon. The Steregushchiy's FERC-2 lit up the approaches. Russian radar operators tracked the incoming signatures and reported them as small, low-altitude contacts. The corvette's response was textbook. A K-630 turret spun up, automatic fire spat tracer and steel into the dawn. Deck crews opened light armament. ECM suites tried to jam feeds. Within minutes, a lethal choreography unfolded. Tracer rounds streaked like angry meteors. Radar screens danced with false returns, and one Ukrainian frame after another was shredded or forced down. But chaos always leaves gaps. Through the curtain of CIWS and radar locks, one Leleka performed what one operator later called a miracle and a suicide. It slipped through a thinning corridor of flak, not by instruction but by timing and a fortunate angle, and slammed into the primary FERC-2 array. The impact and explosion sent copper and circuitry across the mast. Within heartbeats, the corvette's main radar went dark. Communications and long-range sensing flickered. then died. The ship that had promised distant devastation was suddenly cut off from the world it intended to strike. Around the smoking mast, sailors scrambled in panic. Below decks, consoles lost lock. 5 cheap drones had turned a $250 million hunter into a blind, furious target. The escort ship was burning. Black smoke crawled up the dawn sky, curling where the FERC 2 radar mast once stood. The bridge was chaos. Consoles flickered. Alarms wailed. Men shouted orders into radios that no longer reached anyone. Fire hoses hissed. Footsteps echoed across metal slick with seawater and fuel. The Steregushchiy was no longer a weapon. It was a wounded animal, thrashing in the dark. The first wave of Leleka 100 reconnaissance drones had done their work well. The ship's electronic eyes were gone, 12 minutes before the true attack began. 6:55 a.m. The horizon wavered with haze. Out of that haze, 3 black shapes skimmed the surface, their hulls barely touching water. They were MAGURA 5.5 unmanned surface vehicles 18 feet long, weighing just over a ton, each guided by GNSS and autopilot systems linked to satellite feeds. Individually, they looked fragile. Together, they carried a combined payload of nearly 2,000 pounds of explosives, precision-packed, programmed to seek and destroy. Their operational reach was close to 500 miles, but today they needed only 12. With the radar destroyed, the Steregushchiy's gunners relied on instinct. The AK-630 turrets were blind without tracking input, forcing sailors to aim by sight. Muzzle flashes lit the smoke. Tracers streaked red over the waves. Somewhere out in the darkness, the drones approached silently, invisible to sensors, guided only by math and persistence. One was lucky, or unlucky, enough to be spotted. A burst of machine gun fire tore its hull apart. It exploded short of the ship, sending up a column of spray that slammed the deck but caused no fatal damage. The other 2 pressed forward, unrelenting. They crossed the final 100 meters in seconds, weaving through the storm of bullets. The first slammed into the forward engineering trunk, its payload detonating against the fuel conduits. The second struck the starboard side near the magazine housing, triggering shockwaves that rattled the entire hull. The explosions were not grand, cinematic spectacles. They were precise, surgical, final. Metal warped and folded. Fire spread through cable channels. Systems flickered and died. In the command room, the captain gave one last order for containment, but it was too late. Power fell away. The launch sequence for the Kalibrs shut down. The Steregushchiy's engines sputtered and died, leaving only the hiss of fire and the groan of twisting steel. In 5 minutes, a $250 million warship had become a black silhouette on a red horizon. Proof that in modern warfare, it is not size that decides survival, but speed, data, and timing. By dawn, the sea had changed color. Smoke draped the horizon like mourning cloth. The Steregushchiy-class corvette, once a predator of the coast, now drifted like a carcass. Its hull cracked, its deck scorched, its masts shattered. Fire control crews fought exhaustion more than flames. Damage control became triage. Below deck, seawater seeped into compartments. Electrical circuits hissed and sparked. The ship's 8 Kalibr missiles sat cold and inert in their tubes. Missiles that, minutes before, were meant for Ukrainian cities. The damage was more than material. It was strategic humiliation. Sensors, radar arrays, and VLS systems were destroyed beyond repair. Hydraulic lines had ruptured. Data cores melted into slag. Experts would later estimate that repairs, if possible, could take more than a year. For the Russian fleet, the loss wasn't just a corvette. It was a blow to the illusion of control. For Ukraine, it was a victory written in irony. A swarm of inexpensive machines, 5 Leleka drones and 3 MAGURA sea drones, had undone what years of shipbuilding and billions in naval investment had created. A battle fought not by fleets, but by innovation. Each drone cost less than 1 radar panel aboard the Steregushchiy, and yet, collectively, they achieved what missiles and torpedoes often could not. Strategically, the strike redrew boundaries of deterrence. Large arsenals no longer equated to invincibility. The smallest machines now dictated the tempo of the war. A handful of unmanned systems had preserved cities, averted civilian deaths, and shifted global attention toward asymmetric defense. But victory carried a quieter truth. Behind the smoke and celebration was exhaustion. Pilots who guided drones for hours, engineers who built them from salvaged parts, soldiers who fought without sleep. Their success was born not of wealth, but of necessity. When the fires finally dimmed, the Steregushchiy floated half-submerged, its deck blackened, its radar mast gone, its silence absolute. In that silence lay the future of warfare, a warship defeated not by a rival navy, but by the persistence of the desperate and the precision of the small. And somewhere far away, in a hidden control room, a drone operator exhaled and whispered, "Target neutralized." The hum of returning UAVs was the sound of modern victory. Quiet, relentless, inevitable.